For starters, what should I call you?
I'm Chloe. And you, what's your name?
Oh, John. My name is John.
Delighted to meet you, John.
Could you tell us a little about yourself and what you can do, Chloe?
Of course. I'm the first personal assistant built by CyberLife. I take care of most everyday tasks like cooking, housework, or managing your appointments, for example.
And I understand you're the first android to have passed the Turing test. Could you tell us a little more about that?
I really didn't do much, I just spoke with a few humans to see if they could tell the difference between me and a real person. It was a really interesting experience.
But this is the first time in history that man has created a machine more intelligent than himself. I gather your brain can perform several billion operations per second, is that right?
Absolutely, but I only exist thanks to the intelligence of the humans who designed me. And they have something I could never have.
Really? And what's that?
A soul.
Okay, so that was a robot, a human-like robot that specializes in cooking, in houseworks, and in managing your appointments. And guess what? She also had already passed the Turing test. What is the Turing test? I want to help you understand the Turing test. The Turing test, originally called the imitation game by Alan Turing in 1950, is a test of a machine's ability to exhibit intelligent behavior equivalent to or indistinguishable from that of a human. Turing proposed that a human evaluator would judge natural language conversations between a human and a machine designed to generate human-like responses. So when a machine is adjudged to have passed a Turing test, it simply means that that machine has become almost indistinguishable from a human. The machine now has gestures, now has speech patterns, now has mannerisms and behaviors that are almost identical to that of a human being. That when you watch that machine, that robot, you can hardly say this one is a robot or this one is not a human being. So this one you're looking at now is supposed to have passed a Turing test. And guess what? Towards the end of the interview, she said, and there is something that I would never have. And the guy was like, really, what is that? And she said, a soul. Because robots are not built to have souls, because they were built with human hands. They were built with human hands. Only the creations of God can have souls. That's why the Bible says that the wages of sin is death, and the soul that sinneth shall die. In the book of Genesis, when the Bible says that God breathed the breath of life into Adam, you know what happened? The Bible said that he became a living soul. So the soul is really who you are. That's why robots can have souls. They are human creations. They are soulless beings trying to attain the perfection of humanity by every means possible. And this is what these guys who are tinkering with our DNA and all kinds of stuff, manipulating all manipulatables in our bodies, this is what they want to turn us into, soulless beings. At that point, it becomes absolutely impossible for us to gain anything in eternity. May God forbid. This is what is happening. But what you just saw was a clip from a video game called Detroit Become Human. Have you heard about Detroit Become Human? Detroit Become Human is a 2018 adventure video game developed by Quantic Dream and published by Sony Interactive Entertainment. So in Detroit Become Human, they put all these series together that I call predictive programming. In some of my previous videos, I have already explained to us what predictive programming is. They know what is coming. They are 100% sure it's going to happen. They create video series to actually prep you psychologically for this thing that is bound to happen, that is imminent, that is impending, so that when it does come, you wouldn't have that much of a shock when it shows up. This is what I call predictive programming 101. What you just saw there is a real stuff that is not only just going to happen in the nearest future, but is already happening now. Can I prove it to you? Have you heard about this name Miquela before? Miquela, little Miquela.
You're probably asking yourself, how is this robot talking to me right now? Did y'all hear about the robot invasion of 2020? I mean, I've been around for a minute, but I feel like last year was on a whole other level. If you're late to the party, hey, I'm Miquela. I'm a 19-year-old robot living in LA making music. I was made by some mysterious man named Daniel Kane. I never met the guy, but I've got to say, he has impeccable taste. But maybe the most important part about it all was that y'all were with me every step of the way.
This is Lil Miquela. She's an Instagram influencer with more than 1 million followers. Many look to her for advice on what to wear, do, listen to, and buy. But Miquela's not like any other influencer. 2 years after activating her Instagram, she posted a confession to her account. I am not a human being. Miquela is a CGI, a computer-generated image. Ryan Detert founded Influential, a company that connects brands to social media influencers for potential partnerships.
We did do an IBM Watson poll on her personality. She's actually very sympathetic and very emotional, which is funny. Those are human traits, but they're mimicking it in terms of how she's speaking, the cadence, the punctuation. So she is doing a good job pretending to be a human.
Miquela was created by Brud, a super secretive startup based in Los Angeles that claims to focus on robotics and AI. And she's partnered with brands like Prada and Nike.
Can you imagine this? A computer-generated image, CGI, showed up on Instagram, began to gather followers who started falling in love with her, who started depending on her as a source of inspiration, who started depending on her to know what to wear, what to buy, what to listen to. She now became like an advisor, a mentor. A computer-generated image, non-human, was already mentoring human beings on social media. And this remained until the day she was outed by another CGI called Bermuda, before she then went ahead and made a confession, because Bermuda hacked her account and outed her and told the world that she was not human. She now ate the humble pie and came out to confess, I am not a human being. This happened. Social media. So already the same social media non-human influencer has done stuff for Prada, big brand, Nike, massively big brand. And now you're going to hear about another brand again called Ambush. Miquela is already so prominent, popular. She's now an influencer representing big known brands. And so, what does that tell you? It tells you that this is one of that same age-old transhumanist agenda to erase all of humanity from the labor force in our world. Everything that a man does to earn a living, nearly all of them, they have to relinquish those roles to robots. That's what transhumanism is all about, because they think that we as humans, the way we were made by God, that we are not, sustainable. They think that we don't have what it takes to, to live in a modern world. There's so much redundancy in us. There's so much inefficiency. There is so much like sluggishness in us. We can't do things as fast as the robots will do. So it's either we become robots or we just die and go. That's why I showed you the video of Eckhart Tolle when he was saying evolve or die. This is all what it means to evolve. Your evolution that they're expecting you to go through is to actually become machine, become a merger of a human and a machine. At what point you are eventually going to lose your soul. In other words, you don't even become human anymore. That robot said there's something that I would never have, and it's a soul. And for you to become like that robot, as efficient as it is, now being a human being, you have to lose your soul. It's all about removing us. So now if you are a social media influencer, if you are a model and you make money off of representing brands on social media or any aspect of media, you know your days are numbered right now. When you hear or see Miquela, hear about Miquela, you should know that these are danger warning signs. You need to begin to think of plan Bs right now. Because they're not playing games. You can imagine how many of these they've already churned out. They only made us know about Miquela on social media. Many more Miquelas are out there waiting. They're going to be releasing them in bits because they don't want to overwhelm you with a massive surge of these guys. They're going to take over our world. I'll prove it to you right now. Imagine when they remove social media influencers and they don't have a job anymore. And they've removed all the people who do factory works, who work in the warehouses and all of that. What more is left for you, humanity? And the guys who create these CGIs have great points they make on why these brands should forget about humans and stick with these non-human influencers. In fact, let me play for you what a co-founder of Ambush said about real human influencers on social media, the models. Listen to what she said.
We're kind of bored of the real people.
Ambush co-founder Yoon An collaborated with Miquela on a sweatshirt for a Barney's pop-up in May.
How much do you see on Instagram is like authentic? I mean, she's one of the pioneer of this genre. And then for me, like that matters to work with people who are really authentic. So whether it's real or CG, I want to work with someone original who's actually paving the way for it.
So she says, we're kind of bored of the real people. We are bored of them. So she's tired. And for her to say that they are bored, she is not alone. That's why these guys who create the CGIs have a powerful niche. They have a fantastic business proposal. And I want you to hear them. Listen to one of the CEOs of this company, how he laid out all the benefits of using a non-human influencer as opposed to using a human influencer.
So there are 4 key reasons why you would choose a virtual influencer. Firstly, you have what we call product life cycle integrated with the life cycle of the influencer. So the influencer's narrative and their life story can have the product inserted into each part of their story in a compelling way, which is almost impossible to do with a real-world individual. The second one is volume of conversation. So by automating communication, it enables us to allow the virtual influencer to have hundreds of conversations with consumers at the same time. The third one is less risk. So you are in control of all of your content, so you know what's going to go out. So that means that you don't have to, as a brand, worry in any way at all that any of that content or any of that messaging is going to be wrong. It's all going to be done as you want. The fourth reason is money. So effectively, when you're paying a traditional influencer, once you've paid them, that's it. And often you're not getting followers. You're paying that influencer and they are talking about your brand to their followers. When you are conducting a campaign with a virtual influencer, and you're putting and investing money into them, every new follower you get is your follower. So your money is getting a better return on investment as you grow your audience on behalf of your brand.
The world is on the verge of global change. The speed of data transmission has increased by multiples of millions. The rate of globally significant events and that of discoveries and crises is growing exponentially. Our civilization is like an uncaptained ship sailing on rough seas with neither chart nor compass, all the while moving faster and faster. The time we have to make the right decisions is shorter and shorter. We are facing the choice to fall into a new dark age, into affliction and degradation, or to find a new model for human development and create not simply a new civilization, but a new mankind. Historic crises show that to break the deadlock, we need technological revolution. It is clear that today's revolution will also require the deepest social transformation. The world's community and leaders should encourage mankind, instead of wasting resources on solving momentary problems.
We were made in the image of God. Now these guys want to make us in the image of man. In other words, in the image of Satan. That's the new man. They want to create a new mankind. Told you to your face. Radical social changes must happen. And did you see what happened on the screen? There was this writing that was on the screen, social, and then the media was under, and those two fingers expanded the media, social, media. This is where we are now. In this new era, media is the number one thing, it's the principal thing. Media is like what medicine used to be back in the days. Stop forcing your children to go and read something that they are not called to do. Go and be a lawyer. Go and be a medical doctor. Now it's time to encourage your kids to go into media. Understand media, because media is what the enemy is using to cage everybody, especially now social media. We need to start paying attention to all these things. Times have changed. We can't continue to do the same thing we did all along and expect to have some changes.
To focus on the technologies of the future: nanotechnology, biotechnology, information technology, cognitive technology, genetics, and robotics. Doing so will allow us to find new sources of energy, create fundamentally new architecture and transportation, allow unprecedented developments of human cognitive abilities, refine artificial intelligences and brain-computer interfaces, simulate complex systems, create humanoid robots and cyborgs, and with the help of nanorobots, we may develop manageable matter. Find ways to transfer one's personality to an artificial carrier.
Find ways to transfer one's personality to an artificial career. At this point in time, we are progressing. We are moving forward. I want you to see how this thing progressed to the point where we are now and even beyond the point where we are now. Someone's personality will be transferred to an artificial career. Like I am now, my personality will be transferred into maybe a hard drive or something. This is what they are proposing. And you're going to see how they are making it happen in real time. Look at the technologies that are going to help them to make this happen. I just talked about how we need to encourage our children, even encourage our own selves to learn a little bit about nanotechnology, biotechnology, information technology, genetics. All these things are the things that are going to rule this new era that we are walking, that we have actually walked ourselves into. So how do they plan, or when do they plan to be able to transfer someone's personality into an artificial career? Let's move forward.
2013 to 2014, new centers working on cybernetic technologies for the development of radical life extension rise. The race for immortality starts. 2015 to 2020, the avatar is created. A robotic human copy controlled by thought via brain-computer interface. It becomes as popular as a car. In Russia and in the world appear in testing mode.
So the avatar is created between 2015 and 2020. This avatar is a robotic human copy that is controlled via thoughts through computer-brain interface. Who is he talking about? He's talking about Miquela. Miquela is an avatar.
CGI influencer, probably the most famous being Lil Miquela, is an avatar of a human, or an avatar of what they think a human was supposed to look like to have a lot of Instagram followers.
The key idea to understand about a virtual influencer is that they're a computer-generated image. They look like a human, but actually they are generated by a machine, by us, and they are crafted in a way to appeal to a particular kind of audience and deliver a particular kind of message.
So you can see, Miquela is nothing but an avatar. And many people will be wondering, how is she able to actually respond to people and pay attention to all the things? How did she do that? It is something that is controlled using thoughts through what you call computer-brain interface. They told you it would happen between 2015 and 2020. If you go on YouTube now, you can see the video and see when it was first published on YouTube. How many years ago? And now we are here and it is happening. Did you ever think you're going to meet an avatar on social media who is controlled via human thought using computer-brain interface? Talking like a human being, deceived the whole world into believing she was human until she was exposed and outed by another CGI, Bermuda. We are progressing. Let's continue to see some of the other things that have happened between 2015 and 2020.